What up, sports fans and fellow foodies? I'm Julie, and welcome to my kitchen, where I talk sports while whipping up culinary treats each week. I hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving. Maybe some of you guys made the gravy I showed you how to make last week. I brought it to my work potluck and to my mom's house. Rave reviews all around. Hopefully you guys had the same reaction. Maybe you made the smoked Gouda smashed potatoes I made a couple weeks ago. Those also a hit at the respective get-togethers I went to. And if you didn't see either of those videos, what are you waiting for? Go back and look them up. Delicious. All right, so big weekend in college football. It's rivalry weekend. Ohio State, Michigan. Ohio State with the blowout of the Wolverines. As a Big Ten girl, I have friends who are on both sides of the rivalry. Obviously, one side a little more depressed after yesterday. You had the Iron Bowl, Alabama hanging on to beat Auburn. And then closer to home for me, land of Lincoln, the hat. Yep, the Abe Lincoln hat trophy goes to the Fighting Illini over my Northwestern Wildcats, my alma mater. Just couldn't pull this one off. They tried. Tip of the cap to the Illini. It was a great looking game. The snow down in Champaign making the field just almost unplayable. But they battled through it. They closed one side of the stadium because the weather conditions were so crazy. Fun game to watch, not a fun game in terms of an outcome if you're a Wildcat fan. But to the Illini, again, I gotta give you your props. I'm not a sore loser on this one, although I was yelling at Preston Stone quite a bit. He's the Northwestern quarterback who turned the ball over 4 times. Miles Scott of the Illini, tip of the cap to you, my friend. 2 interceptions inside the final 5 minutes, including one on the Wildcats' last possession that sealed the game for Illinois. As a Wildcat, I do not own any Illini clothes, but I'm wearing orange just to show my good sportsmanship to my Illini fan friends. I was gritting my teeth, I was screaming at the TV, but it was a great game and it went to the Illini. So some great rivalry games this weekend. I mentioned Preston Stone with all those turnovers, and that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. I try and mix it up. Some weeks we go savory, some weeks we go sweet. We're back to the pastries this week as we're going to make apple turnovers, because turnovers a key in any football game, but especially for your Chicago Bears. The Bears continuing to lead the league in takeaways, and that's thanks in part to Kevin Byard, who had his league-leading 6th interception the other day in the Bears' win over the Eagles on Black Friday. You also had Nahshon Wright continuing to be just badass for that Bears defense. He forced and recovered the fumble on the tush push. Come on, they can't run that play against the Bears. The Bears defense is too good for that. Bears defense smoking right now. And Matthew Stafford had 3 turnovers today as the Rams fell to the Carolina Panthers. Turnovers key in that game, and guess what that means, Bears fans? The Bears are right now, this very moment, the #1 seed in the NFC. Oh my gosh, who would have thought that? That as we head into December this season, the Bears are sitting in the 1 seed. Still some key football left to be played, but turnovers, a big part of why the Bears are sitting in the spot they are. Now, Ben Johnson, you saw him ripping off his shirt in the locker room. Oh my gosh, this was the coach we've been waiting for years, right? I thought about doing something tonight along the line of, instead of Frank and Beans, doing like Ben and Frank's, because Ben Johnson took his shirt off and the Wiener Circle said, free hot dogs for Chicagoans on Tuesday. That's so cool that the Bears have a coach that not only has the team buying in and fired up, but he's concerned about Chicago being hungry and getting hot dogs for everyone. Love you, Ben. But we're not going to do the Frank and Beans takeoff tonight. We'll kind of keep that maybe in the back of our head for later in the season if Ben keeps winning hot dogs for everybody. But in the meantime, let's get to our apple turnovers. So what I've got here, these are gorgeous apples. These are like what you see in the fall when the apple orchards open. Gorgeous apples. I've got Honeycrisp, I've got Envy, I've got Fuji, I've got Gala. You can use Granny Smith. Tonight, I'm just going to give you a little demo with one of the smaller ones because it's easier for me to put in my little apple slicer there. Should probably take off the stem on this one, makes it a little bit easier. I go old school. I use the paring knife to go around and take off the peels. I love the peels as a snack whenever my apple desserts go in the oven. You can do this with one of those fancy schmancy, the little twisty peeler ones. I don't know, they don't do much for me. I prefer to go old school. Get this peeled off like this. Take your paring knife right inside where the peel is, and we're gonna have this off in a matter of seconds. Now, what we're gonna do with this is I'm gonna use my apple corer and slicer to make quick work of not just cutting it into smaller pieces, but getting that core out as well. So I've got one that looks like this. I've also got one that makes 16 slices, but this one just works for me on the coring part better. You push it down, you get your core out of the way, done. And then you've got all your nice little slices here. So what we're gonna do with those, I'm gonna cut them in small bites. So I'm gonna take a piece like this. I'm gonna cut it once this way. I'm gonna cut it this way. So we got 4 little matchsticks there. And then we're just do a small dice on those. You wanna keep them about the same size so they cook about the same. Got my small dice apples. Part of the reason I like them this way, they're easier to eat. I make my apple pie just like this with the small diced apples because it's easier to eat than pulling a big apple slice out when you take a bite of your apple pie. We're not close enough friends yet for me to share my apple pie recipe with you. Maybe somewhere down the line, maybe you guys keep liking the videos and reposting and retweeting and keep passing along to people. Maybe one day. But right now I've shared that recipe with like 2 people in my entire life. So you gotta be a little bit more in my inner circle for that. Anyway, we got our apples here. We're gonna do 4 regular size apples like the one I just cut. If you're using one like these big monster Honeycrisp ones, this is the equivalent of 2 regular size, maybe even a little bit bigger than that. You're gonna take your apple dice. It's gonna be 4 apples diced. You're gonna take a ½ a cup of brown sugar, 2 tablespoons of butter. You're gonna melt the butter first in your saucepan on the stove, like this one. Got the butter in there, then you're gonna add your apples and your brown sugar. You're gonna cook it for about 8 to 10 minutes till it softens. So once you have that, we're gonna use what we call a slurry. And actually I forgot, gotta add your spices too. Spices, about a teaspoon of spices. You can do a teaspoon of just straight up cinnamon. You can do a teaspoon of cinnamon with a little dash of cloves, which I love the smell of cloves. I've also got a couple different baking and pumpkin pie spices here you can use. So this will save you a couple steps if you want to have multiple spices. I went ahead and used the pumpkin pie one because it has a couple different kinds of cinnamon in it. It's got ginger, it's got allspice, nutmeg. Gives you all those good fall baking flavors in one little container. But you can just do a teaspoon of cinnamon, that's fine too. I also put a dash of salt in here because even though I'm using salted butter, I always feel like it needs more salt. And then I took just a lemon squirt to give it a little brightness, freshen it up a little bit. So all that goes on top of the stove, like I said, 8 to 10 minutes till your apple pieces are softened. And then what you're gonna do with that, we're gonna make something called a slurry. Now last week when we did our gravy, we made a roux, which was 1 part flour to 1 part cold water. That gave us our thickening agent for the gravy. This time we're making something called a slurry. It is a 1 tablespoon water to 1.5 teaspoon cornstarch, so 2 to 1 ratio. And again, we're doing cold water because we don't want it to melt in there. We just want it to kind of dissolve a little bit. And what you're gonna do with this is your thickening agent for our apple filling. You can use canned pie filling. You can use cherry, you can use apple, blueberry, whatever floats your boat. But you just wanna make sure this is pretty thin. Probably can't see that real well. It's pretty thin, but the whole point of it, let's do this. You can see it's kind of like milk, but the point of it is you're gonna add it to hot contents on your stove. That heat is going to activate the thickening agent. I like to bring it to a boil. Most people say kind of simmer it. Get it to a boil, it's gonna thicken quicker, and then you'll take it down and you'll simmer it for about another 5 to 10 minutes till it's a little bit thicker. Then you're gonna take it off the stove, you're gonna cool it, and you're gonna have something that looks just like this and smells amazing. So that is ready to go in our turnovers. Now, hearkening back, if you remember, if you were with me the first week we started doing these videos, we did bear claws in honor of Caleb Williams. So we used puff pastry that time. We're gonna use it again. We're gonna bring it back. This is just the kind you buy in the freezer section at the store. You want it to thaw for about 15 or 20 minutes so you can fold it nice and smooth. However, you don't want it to thaw for too long. The longer you have it thawing, the less likely it is to puff up. So I've got my sheet here. I'm gonna cut it into 4 squares. This recipe will make 8. It'll make 8 regular sized ones. The box has 2 sheets of puff pastry. So 4 and 4 with your filling. I'm gonna take this, spoon it in kind of, we'll call it left of center. Let's say I'm gonna go left of center on these. And you're gonna put maybe about 2 teaspoons. You don't wanna go too full because then it's not gonna seal for you. And if you still got any little bit of liquid in here, most of which should have cooked off. If you have any liquid, you can leave that in the pot. You don't want that in here. What we're gonna do, we have an egg wash, which is 1 egg, just whisked with your fork. You add a little bit of water to thin it out. Then we're gonna take one of our pastry brushes. You're gonna use this to seal and for the outside as well. You brush all four sides of your puff pastry. You're gonna take it corner to corner so that your square becomes a triangle, just like this. And then you're gonna take a fork and crimp your edges, pressing down all the way down one side, all the way down the other to seal in your filling. And it gives it a pretty edge, so it looks like this. Then you're gonna take your pastry brush and your egg wash one more time. You're gonna go back on here. You're gonna brush a finish on top. It's gonna make it nice and golden. And this is also gonna help us with our sugar that we're gonna put on top. I'm using sugar in the raw. It is just a thicker, coarser sugar, so we're gonna use that. We're gonna sprinkle it on top, just like this, as little or as much as you want. And I'm gonna just poke a little bit of holes in here with my fork, nothing fancy, but just to give it a little venting, to let it breathe. So, there's our beautiful turnover, which is ready to go in the oven. We're gonna put it on our baking sheet with our puff pastry, with our parchment paper rather, and we're gonna bake it 400 degrees in the oven. It's gonna be about 10 minutes or so, but you wanna keep an eye on it to see how it is browning. All right, these have been in here and these are browning beautifully. So you can see that's how they look when they come out. This little guy, I did not seal him well enough. He's got some filling oozing out, but that's okay. It smells so good when it's bubbling like that. So these, you can have them for breakfast, you can have them for dessert, you can have them for a snack. We all know turnovers are the key to what's going on with our favorite football team here in Chicago. All right, stick around next week. Bears playing the Packers. This is a big one. They still have the Packers 2 more times. The Bears feeling pretty good, riding that high, but boy, Bears fans are gonna lose their minds if they have such a successful season, hang on to that 1 seed and beat the Packers. Christmas comes early. I guarantee you, whatever I make next week, it's gonna have cheese in it. So you'll wanna tune in for that. In the meantime, thank you for joining me in my kitchen. Turnovers are the key. Turnovers bad for Northwestern, good for the Bears. All right, I'll see you guys next week. Thanks for joining me here in my kitchen.